Let's talk about how you can stream and also share your screen in this session. This is more the share and screen session, but we're still kind of downplaying how much of the engagement's going to happen. This is more of kind of a one-directional kind of session. So this is an upgrade from just a straight stream of your video, but this is taking a stream of your video and some things that you might share on the screen. There will be a final video that's more of the engagement video that we talk about in a second, but here we go with Zoom for streaming and adding presentation layers to it. So you'll get in your class, you'll start your Zoom classroom, and you're gonna go ahead and start your session. Now, in this particular instance, you gotta realize that you're gonna have to allow the students in the class before you really start getting into the session presentation, because it might be a little bit hard if somebody joins late to see they're joining the session. But you're going to see in a moment here how you can admit new people into the session. So now imagine standing in the classroom. You're going to want to show the presentation to the people that are face to face. So it's going to be through Zoom, and you're going to be sharing your screen so everyone in the classroom see it on the monitors or the projector. But you also want to see show it to the remote participants. So how do you make that happen? Well, first of all, you got to jump into your session. You turn on that camera so you can have your video camera. So hello, how are you doing? And then we're going to go in and click the share screen button. So sharing screens, this is an interesting concept. There's a lot of ways that you can share screens. Number one, it does it based off of screens. I'm working on a setup that actually has 4 screens right now, so it's a little excessive, but you can go to each of those screens and pick which one of the ones that you'd like. You can create a virtual whiteboard. That is just a whiteboard that you can all kind of converge on with your mouse and write on that. If you happen to have a device on you and you're working on that device, you can share that device's screen. Additionally, you can share individual applications that are running at this moment, meaning that if you had one window open in a program, for instance, you can share just that window. It's not sharing your entire screen, your desktop, it's sharing just that window. Additionally, there is an ability to share advanced screens, so content from another camera or something from a sound source or just a portion of your screen. So these are very handy tools. We'll talk about advanced settings soon. And additionally, you can share files as well. But in this particular case, in the simple presentation setup, what we're going to do is we're just going to share a screen. So what I'll do is I'll share the screen that we're on right now. I'll share that screen. Here we have it. So right when you share the screen, you're going to share anything that you're doing. So if you're moving around on a screen, you're going to be able to show that. If you're clicking around in Blackboard, you'll be able to show the different aspects of that. So it's really a kind of a real-time version of what's happening on that computer. In most cases, you're going to be jumping up and you're going to be sharing a full screen of information. Now, there's this video that might be kind of in your way, or you may hit present and it's this full-on presentation mode that jumps on your screen. You may even go to full screen mode. You'll have this little window that's floating around, but you may not see your participants window, you may not see some other things. But notice at the bottom, when you highlight this, and it may sometimes be docked on the top, it may be docked somewhere on your screen or just floating around, is there's this little window that you can make some additional adjustments from. So I'm going to keep mine at the bottom of the screen here, but if I click on this screen share, I could go over here and click on participants, and now you have this participants window that's floating there. You can go over and click on your chat window and you have that there. But one of the big problems is anybody that's in the room is seeing the presentation covered, and you can't see your own slides. Now, if I was somebody that was wanting to join the session, and I'm going to go ahead and join the session from this other end here so you can kind of see what that would look like. Typically, you'd see them come into a waiting room. But let's say you're in the middle of a session and you've turned everything off, and I even went to this video and I minimized that, so I just have a very minimal footprint and I'm just sharing my screen. What would happen if somebody joined the meeting because you maybe have your your waiting room on. Let's go and check out what that experience might look like. So I'm joining from another screen over here. You're going to notice it just pops up this window at the bottom. So you might be presenting and you see that you're going to want to say, admit the user real quick. So that person is now in the session. You didn't have to go to the participants window and you're able to continue on with your session. Now, the bad side to this is you can't see questions that come up with the chat. You may be able to hear somebody if they unmuted their mic and you gave them ability to unmute their mic. One of the areas that you can kind of adjust the ability for people to talk in the session is when you go to your participants panel. If you go in this bottom right hand side here, you can mute participants on entry point. You can also, if you go down to this area, it says allow participants to unmute themselves. So if you allow that, disallow that, that means that everyone stays muted in this session. That's actually a big one for kind of presentation modes if you're not going to be monitoring the chat and you don't want interruptions as you're kind of going in there. So that's always in this down in this area here. So you can just have all the participants being muted automatically by entry, but then as they find out, they can unmute themselves. So for instance, in this case, if I wanted to unmute myself, you'll notice in this upper left-hand side there, I am talking and you can hear some echo because I am in the session. But if this person is creating this weird scenario and there's all this extra stuff going on, I can come over here and hit mute, and now I've muted that person and you don't have that echo. You didn't have that issue that you were just hearing a moment ago. So that is it for the presentation mode. You just work and you show your presentation in this particular context. If you're sharing just in this particular one, I want to just go and show some information here. I'm clicking around to different slides. Maybe I'm going to Blackboard, showing things. You're presenting in the classroom.